Hello and welcome to Natural Resources Investor, where we unearth opportunities. My name's Eric Bergsang, and today I'm very pleased to be joined by Luis de Silva, who is the CEO and Managing Director of Harz Potash. Harz Potash is listed on the ASX under the ticker SHP. Today we'll be getting an update from Luis regarding the company's Ohmgebirge Potash Development Project and the recent progress made in respect to its spatial planning application. Now, before we begin, you can sign up to our newsletter. There's a link in the description box below. And also don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel for more. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the conversation with Luis.
Well, thanks for the question, Eric. The capital raise has been supported very well by existing shareholders. It's very difficult balancing act. But when we announced the MOU with our neighbours at Deutsche, we knew from that point in time, and we told the market that obviously we were going to extend by a quarter, and therefore means additional cash. We are aligned with shareholders, and we feel the pain with shareholders. The directors and management have consistently put cash in, and once again we're supporting and sub-underwriting the rights issue with 170,000 Australian dollars. So we are very much aligned. We're focused on the end result. The end result is a PFS. The end result is getting the spatial planning, which should be a significant milestone. And another parallel work stream is the Deutsche commercial agreement. And with those, the company will be in a good position and a much stronger position. These are critical milestones. I think I've said this before, but the PFS is not just about what number does the capital expenditure profile start with. It's about having certainty of what that number means. And the PFS will give us credibility with funds, industrial strategic partners that understand potash. They will know that our PFS is as it should be. The fact that we have Hatch as a world-renowned estimator, it may be a boilerplate PFS, but it'll help us advance straight away into a definitive feasibility study. So it'll be a solid piece of work with a certain amount of the engineering already done. And one of the reasons that we postponed the PFS for 3 months, for that extra quarter to incorporate the brownfield infrastructure, is to do value engineering. Where can we benefit? Where are the obvious benefits from adding the infrastructure? It's a bulk commodity. Let's not forget, potash is a bulk commodity. It requires infrastructure. It's all about the infrastructure in essence. And here we have an abundance of infrastructure that we have to optimize. So the PFS will give us credibility. It'll give us a new number, and that will be believable to all parties that look to invest in a food security stock like ours. So I think that's the first thing. From a spatial planning, when I started with Harz in November 22, most of the conversations were centered about Germany. Well, Germany doesn't have a history of permitting. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be impossible. Those questions are minimal now from an investor base, because I think we have managed the dialogue and we've demonstrated that we have a relationship with the authorities, that the communities, all the stakeholders that want mining back in the icefield area where we operate. So the spatial planning, when it comes, I think it'll be a message not only for potash and for Harz. It'll go wider than Thuringian state. It'll be a positive for the mining industry in Germany in general. Obviously, to achieve all of those, and in parallel to all those, we have to get a commercial agreement with our neighbour and make sure that we incorporate the benefits of that commercial agreement into the PFS. So it's all interlinked, and that's why it's a significant 3-4 months ahead for us. When it comes to the strategics, Eric, essentially, when we engage with parties, as you can well imagine, it's not a weekly dialogue with every single party. Everybody works at their own paces. And in those 12 months, the landscape has changed dramatically. The world, unfortunately, has become accustomed to dealing with the conflict in the Ukraine. It's no longer, I say unfortunately, it's no longer the first thing that when you put on your news, it's not the first thing that appears on the news. It'll be certainly the second it'll be, and it'll play a major part of any news channel. However, we are acclimatized to the situation, and with that means that trade also adapts. So it's still very difficult to say, given that some 40% of exports of potash came out of Belarus and Russia, it's still very difficult to establish the numbers of how much of that capacity is finding its way to the Brazils of this world, to the Indias of this world, and to China. But they are, because the embargoes or the difficulty came from shipping and insurance. Now, what's happened over the course of that period, as we accept the different environment, is that you've had shipping issues all around the world, whether it's Panama Canal, having to plan better to what goes through the Panama Canal. So you're having ships that are more regularly unplanned, having to go through the bottom of South America. Now, in the last 100 days, we've had the conflict in Israel and Gaza, and the impact of that has been trade in the Red Sea. So, yeah, shipping rates, I saw a statistic the other day, which I'm not going to quote because I can't remember it specifically, but it was a substantial increase in a short period of time, that now we have the attacks in the Red Sea that are coming out of Yemen. So everything is impacted ultimately. And at the end of the day, that changes the approach of companies that are looking to be in potash. So the landscape is a changing one on a regular basis, and everyone has to adapt. Yes, we've had a number of parties, and I've mentioned it before, over 10 parties that we've been in dialogue with. The evolving landscape will impact the way that they look at South Harz as a potential investment. I think it's very important, no doubt about it, to get third-party validation, endorsement from a strategic, because that'll close the gap on our NPV. We're trading at 1% of NPV compared to the scoping study. So that is a big gap to close. So I think trade flows have changed dramatically. They are changing. Some of it is not visible. We know that material is getting through to the BRIC countries, but of course, as shipping rates change, and they have changed dramatically, that's going to impact all trade flows. So it's a very complex, ever-evolving scenario. What we do know is that pricing in Europe has held up firmly, and maybe where the capacity from Belarus and Russia is going to certain countries, you probably see the pricing in those other countries drop. So you have responsible buyers and you have less responsible buyers, and we know that certain countries are not going to be buying from Russia or Belarus again. Food security, Eric. This is a stock that is increasingly obvious, going to be more important about food security. So as we look multiple years ahead, Ohmgebirge and South Harz have a portfolio of assets that are multi-generational. We're completing the PFS in the next 3 months. The commercial outcome with our neighbor is going to be incorporated into that PFS to make sure that we get the best possible outcome. We know historically what projects have been developed at from a capital intensity perspective. So we want to be on the right side of that. The spatial planning will be, as I said earlier, a subliminal moment, not only for the company in Thuringia, but I think for a broader message in terms of mining in Germany. We'll complete the baseline studies for the EIA, the Environmental Impact Assessment. We'll be able to move on a positive outcome with the PFS, we'll be able to move straight into a definitive feasibility study. We believe, because we have such a confidence level and of the work being done, we believe that the DFS will soon follow within 12 months. So you're talking about a number of catalysts that some companies only ever achieve in a 2-3 year period. We're going to achieve it all in the coming 6 months. And so we believe that the stock, given where we're trading at ridiculous lows in the current market, with a tailwind, with a positive sentiment for potash pricing, with a positive sentiment for food security, and with the necessary approvals, I think the company is extremely well positioned to deliver a strong outcome. And we're all aligned from the board to management and with all our stakeholders and shareholders to deliver that.